Welcome to the Water Guys podcast. My name is Louis Borges. Joining me as always, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Shane McCarthy.
What up? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Oh, good as always. Doing great. It's beautiful weather out here.
Yep.
Wifey is 37 weeks pregnant.
Just about there, man. Your life will change in numerous ways, and most of them for the good. And you will. I'm excited for you guys. So today we wanted to cover a cool topic, one that's a growing segment in the hydrogen and water world. We're talking about hydrogen water bottles. There's a lot of misconceptions about these bottles. What makes a good one? What makes a poor one? What should I look out for? What kind of price? There's a million questions and a million resources. We've tried to collect them all into a concise episode here. We're going to show you some videos of what metrics you should be looking for, and also some examples of some of the things you should be asking the companies about, to prove their performance. Have they been third-party tested? Do they have lab results? What kind of lab results? It all makes a difference, unfortunately, in this world that is not yet quite streamlined. There's a lot of different products coming from all over the place. Who knows what's what with hydrogen bottles? And I mean, Shane, you must get a ton of questions about what are these these bottles that make bubbles in your water all about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're on Facebook or Instagram at all, you've probably seen these bottles come up in your ads, because over the last year or two, in between a year and 2 years, it's really taken off, which is great to see. However, as every industry goes, as it expands and evolves rapidly, you get people and companies that want to just come in there, make a buck, and then say, see you later. And I really don't have any time for that. That really drives me nuts as a professional salesperson, because as a professional salesperson, I'm always here for the customer, and I'm here to serve well over being here to sell anything. And it's important, because my purpose in my sales is to help make people, help get people healthier. And from what I've seen and experienced myself with my customers and with thousands and thousands of people around the world, is that hydrogen is a phenomenal way of getting yourself healthier. But as it is with many products, there's a lot to know. Yeah. And that's what this episode is going to be about, is making sure you know what you need to know before you go down the road of investigating which bottle would be best for you, and whether the bottle would be a good solution for you to begin with.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, for the last couple of years, getting into the world of hydrogen therapy or ionizers, there was a certain price point of entry. Now that these bottles have come in at what appear to be really affordable prices, are you really getting what you're paying for? Is it worth spending more to get a better bottle? Could the less expensive bottles actually be harming you? And we're going to explain all that. We've got a friend, Taiwan Hubbard. He runs the H2 Minutes YouTube channel. He has a very good video. It's about 35 minutes long on everything you need to know about hydrogen water bottles. We've sort of clipped it and summarized it into an 8-minute summary here, but it will answer probably 90% of the questions right off the bat. And quite frankly, he does a fantastic job. So we'll play the video from there, and then we'll also show you some examples of poor quality bottles, misleading ads, and we'll give you some examples of reports and things, what they look like, so that when you're doing your investigation, you'll know exactly what to ask for. So here we go. 8 minutes or less. Our friend Taiwan Hubbard.
Seen these little fancy bottles promoted everywhere? Not that long ago, Gary Brecka went onto the Joe Rogan podcast talking about hydrogen water and the hydrogen water bottle he uses. And now the internet is buzzing about hydrogen water and these little bottles. Companies and products have seemingly popped out of nowhere promoting them. Only one problem: no one really knows anything about them. Not many people know what hydrogen water is, much less how these little bottles work, and how you can distinguish between the many different variations of these bottles. Well, we're going to do a deep dive into these little water bottles on this episode of H2 Minutes. Let me give you a little breakdown of what we're going to be explaining in this video. Here are the points. Why would you want a hydrogen water bottle? What are hydrogen water bottles? How effective are they for health benefits? How do they translate to the research? Other hydrogen water bottle gimmicks, how not to be duped. It's crucial to watch this video in its entirety, especially the conclusion. We will unveil the best approach for purchasing a hydrogen water bottle, saving you time. These hydrogen water devices are portable, battery-powered water bottles that generate and dissolve molecular hydrogen into water. They use water electrolysis, a process of breaking water down into its natural components, hydrogen, H2, and oxygen, O2. This explains the visible production of H2 bubbles in the water. To perform electrolysis, you must use electricity, which is the reason for the batteries in these bottles. The bottles are composed of an H2 generator on the bottom and a bottle or flask on the top that ranges from 8 ounces, 240 milliliters, to 16 ounces, 500 milliliters. It typically takes 3 to 10 minutes to produce a hydrogen water, which is referred to as cycle time. So let's take a deeper look into the inner workings of these bottles. Basics of what you need to know for this video is that PEM bottles allows you to produce hydrogen water with any kind of drinking water. So spring, distilled, purified, RO, filtered, etc. You want to use water that is filtered in some way because these bottles do not, I repeat, do not filter the water. Hydrogen gas is produced on the drinking water side of the hydrogen cell, and the O2 is discarded at the bottom. Because of this, things like chlorine, ozone, and hydrogen peroxide can be produced on the anode are discarded at the bottom as well. Producing hydrogen gas with these bottles will not alter the pH of the water. Now, the AWI water bottles will only produce hydrogen water if there's minerals present in the water. And unfortunately, these bottles can also produce chlorine, ozone, hydrogen peroxide, and oxygen within the drinking water, because the cathode and anode are typically together instead of being separate from each other. These bottles will alter the pH of the water, making the water more alkaline. Do not buy these bottles. There is better technology on the market now, and it'll save you a lot of headaches, so just steer clear of them. Let's take a deeper look into the inner workings of these bottles. Within the hydrogen generator base unit is a small hydrogen cell for producing hydrogen gas from the drinking water. The hydrogen cell will have a cathode or negative side where the hydrogen gas is produced, and the anode or the positive side is where oxygen gas is produced. The cells have smaller electrodes which are coated in platinum, which allows electricity to flow to produce the hydrogen. Some bottles use what's called dual chamber PEM SPE technology. This stands for proton exchange membrane and solid polymer electrolyte. Other bottles use AWI technology, which stands for alkaline water ionizer technology. The most important part of a hydrogen water bottle is the hydrogen concentration. In these bottles, this number can vary greatly, which makes my next point a big one. Number 3, how effective are they for health benefits? The potential for health benefits from hydrogen water depends on how much hydrogen gas you consume. So if you want an effective hydrogen water bottle, it's imperative to know how much hydrogen gas it can provide. Hydrogen water bottles can have an H2 concentration range as low as 0.1 milligrams per liter or ppm to as high as 7.0 milligrams per liter or ppm. But why such a large range? Many bottles can use subpar technology, making it a challenge to produce hydrogen gas, let alone dissolving that gas into the water. This usually leads to these bottles exhibiting a lower concentration, from 0.1 to 1.6 milligrams per liter or ppm. The maximum amount of hydrogen gas that can be dissolved into water is 1.6 milligrams per liter or ppm, without any pressure forcing more gas to dissolve. This is precisely how bottles that provide over 1.6 milligrams per liter or ppm achieve higher levels. These bottles are designed to hold a great deal of pressure and therefore provide a higher concentration. High concentration bottles have a special lid that is designed to hold pressure and release pressure at a certain point. There are even lids that have a manual pressure relief button, making it easier to open. The bottle and the base will also be designed not to crack or break under the pressure. You buy a low-end hydrogen water bottle. probably a cheap one on Amazon or something. And you verify the H2 concentration of the bottle is 0.5 ppm or milligrams per liter, even though they claimed it would be higher. Which, if you're measuring with H2 blue, it will take 5 drops to turn clear to equal 0.5 ppm or milligrams per liter. And a side note, some companies will give you a ppb measurement, which will be 1,000 instead of 1 and 500 instead of 0.5 and so on. So say your 0.5 ppm bottle is 300 milliliters in volume. If we take the H2 concentration times the volume, we learn that there is only 0.15 milligrams of H2 present in the water. If the goal was to reach the minimum target of 1 milligram of H2, it would require drinking 7 of those bottles to do that. That is over 2 liters of water each day just to get 1 milligram of H2. Now, say you would like to shoot for 3 milligrams, which is much more likely to induce therapeutic benefits. You would need to drink 20 of these bottles, which is 6 liters or over a gallon of H2 water every day. Now, let's say you have a bottle that produces 7 milligrams per liter of dissolved H2 in the same volume of water, 300 milliliters. By doing the same math, we can determine that there's 2.1 milligrams of hydrogen gas dissolved into the water when it's ready to drink. Already, we know that with just one bottle, we have a dose of 2 milligrams, which is within the suggested daily dose. Now, I'm telling you, one of the most common comments people make about this is that it's a scam because hydrogen's already in water. This is true that hydrogen atoms are part of the water molecule, but people, the hydrogen we're talking about is hydrogen gas or molecular hydrogen, a totally different species of hydrogen. I don't have time to explain the different species of hydrogen, but I made a video that could be helpful to that question. Hydrogen gas is recognized as a novel therapeutic medical gas. The administration of this gas to the human body is referred to as hydrogen therapy and is a practice aimed at addressing various health problems or disorders. Extensive research with over 2,000 scientific articles and counting, including upwards of 200 preclinical and clinical human studies and growing, has been conducted to understand its efficacy. There to be a minimum threshold, meaning you can consume hydrogen water, but if the H2 levels are too low, you may not notice any health benefits at all. Data suggests that 1 to 3 milligrams of H2 or more per day via water appears to be therapeutic for humans. Some researchers are even suggesting that 1.8 to 7.2 milligrams of H2 per day is needed to see clinical effects. Second is the sole IHSA approved lab in the US for certification testing, H2 Analytics. H2 Analytics uses advanced gas chromatography to measure hydrogen gas dissolved into water, which is the gold standard for this assessment. Hydrogen companies have the option to submit their products to H2 Analytics for a laboratory report verifying the H2 concentration. H2 Analytics can also oversee the certification process to determine if the product meets IHSA standards. We've talked about a lot of claims made with hydrogen water bottles, but there is one claim that deserves its own point. Number 5, hydrogen water bottle gimmicks. Now, as I mentioned earlier, drinking hydrogen water is not the only way to administer hydrogen gas to get health benefits. In fact, hydrogen inhalation is blowing up on the market and has really become popular amongst hydrogen consumers, which has led to hydrogen water bottle promoters jumping on the H2 inhalation train. Some H2 bottles come with an attachment to breathe hydrogen gas from these bottles. The problem with this is that hydrogen inhalation has its own suggested level of hydrogen that has been deemed to provide health benefits, and hydrogen water bottles don't even come near this level. Since the hydrogen inhalation is administered through a different route than the water, the amount needed of H2 will be different as well. Hydrogen inhalation's effectiveness is determined by the flow rate, which is expressed in milliliters per minute, instead of ppm or milligrams per liter.
So there's a lot there, but basically the less expensive bottles are using poor technology. They don't have the ability to produce high amounts of hydrogen, so you're not getting a therapeutic dose. They may not be off-gassing the negative byproducts, things like poor battery life, lack of testing, and taking liberties with claims that these things will do certain things. And I mean, I have 3 bottles here I can show you for an example. So we've got this bottle, our bottle, and then a third bottle. So for me, my hydrogen research began with this. This is a Q Life bottle. This with conversion and duty in Canadian funds is about $350 to get into Canada. Very good bottle. It was the first one I bought. My only issue that I didn't like about it was the battery life. 5 or 6 runs, this thing's done. But after seeing third-party test results as well as doing my own, it does produce a very high therapeutic amount of hydrogen, which was what I expected for my money. So battery's not great, but it works. The bottle that we researched and decided to bring in is our Hydro Boost bottle. This takes all the same benefits of a high producing bottle such as this one, except we have a more pressurized cap. This can do hot or cold liquids instead of a USB-C type charging port there, which water can get in. We have a magnetic port, making it totally waterproof. We do off gas the bad stuff through these ports in the bottom here, and it produces a very high amount of hydrogen. The battery is almost double the life. I think upwards of 20 runs on this. And even on the 10 or 20 minute cycle, you're going to get 10 to 17 runs. So it really ticked all the boxes. I did, in fact, ask for testing. This is what testing will look like. So H2 Analytics is the lab that Taiwan mentioned. Here's the actual H2 Analytics test of our bottle. You can see the picture there. We sell these in both blue and gray. So there is our blue one down there with the gas chromatography. We also have a heavy metals test done on ours, showing, they test for things like silver, aluminum, arsenic, you name it, it goes on and on. And the middle column there saying ND stands for none detected, because one of the concerns with these bottles is people are saying, hey, do these things leach metals back in the water? Rest assured, though, to date, even the very inexpensive bottles that could be dangerous to your health still aren't showing any evidence of leaching metals, mainly because the wattage of these chargers is so low. This is a 5-watt charger. To get metal leaching, the heat really needs to be up there. So in the event of a malfunction or overheating, you could have an issue with metals leaching. But so far, even the cheap bottles aren't really putting metals in the water.
Or if you're in a situation like and the bottle's not creating enough hydrogen, so then you're having to have anywhere from 7 to 20 bottles a day. That's where you can really expect to see heavy metals leaching into your water, because you're running that thing pretty much all day long.
Sure.
If you're doing 20 10-minute cycles in a day, that's 200 minutes. That's a lot of time for that.
And that's a lot of wear and tear on your device too. If you're going to spend $300-400 on one of these things to get a good one, you don't want to be running it 25 times a day. Again, there's 2 ways you could look at it. Some people say, well, I only have 2 or 3 of these a day because I'm getting enough. And they use this as like their little booster, their little supplement. Some people like myself, I drink all of my water out of this in a day. I will have 15 of them in a day. It doesn't bother me. I like making my hydrogen fresh. I like knowing that I'm getting the maximum dose, but it's certainly not required. I could get away with 1 bottle a day because there's enough in there. I would be getting a therapeutic dose.
And that's one of the beauties of hydrogen, is there's no adverse effects to having too much of it. It's such a small and beautiful molecule that if you have too much of it, your body will just expel it easily, no problem.
That's
and one of the things that he pointed out at the beginning that I wanted to bring back up is, he said any kind of drinking water. Now, I've seen other companies on the market that are just coming in and trying to make a buck, saying that you can put any water that you want in there, including tap water. Please, if you see a company saying that, run far away, because that is the last thing that you should be doing. These waters do not filter. And these waters, the hydrogen water will become more bioavailable, and so will everything else that's in the water. So the only thing you want in your water besides your H2O is minerals, and so that's why a properly filtered spring water, a distilled water does work in the same reverse osmosis water. It's actually a perfect pairing, this bottle, the Hydro Boost 6000, with the 8-stage reverse osmosis system. That is a knockout combo for those that want to get a more affordable solution to get properly filtered water and hydrogen at the same time. And so don't put just any water in there. It's very, very important. and you know, I do love that the Hydro Boost 6000 is the SPEPEM, not the AWI that he was saying to stay clear away from.
Yeah, all of the products that we sell do have this solid polymer electrolyte and the proton exchange membrane. That's how they produce their byproduct. Another thing I wanted to mention too is sort of, you mentioned the tap water. Tap water, if it does have chlorine and you're putting in one of these bottles, that chlorine will actually wear away at the membrane. This is basically a series of stacked titanium plates coated with platinum. You have so many on one side, so many on the other. So the negative, imagine a battery in water. You know, you're going to run electricity through water. On the positive, you're going to get the oxygen byproducts, and on the negative, you're going to get the hydrogen. So in a bottle like this is all negative water. The positive has already outgassed any ozone or peroxide or chlorine or anything like that. But there's a very thin membrane in ours that's top of the line membrane. It's called a DuPont N117. And chlorine will actually start to put miniature holes in that. With time, that chlorine will cause perforations. So now it can't evenly off-gas the bad stuff. You could have the bad stuff leaching back in because the chlorine damaged your bottle. Now, there are some bottles, and we were very excited about this one, because this bottle claimed to make 9,000 parts per billion. Right now on the market, as Taiwan said in his video, bottles between 6,000 and 7,000 are few and far between. They basically don't exist, and none of them filter. This caught our attention because it claimed to make 9,000 parts per billion. It also has a charcoal filter that goes inside to filter the water. And it has a 4,000 milliamp battery versus our 2,300 and some others. We thought this will have triple the battery life, double the hydrogen production, and it'll be the only bottle on the market with a filter. But we don't just take other people's word for it. We do our own testing. We have our own very high internal standards. So subsequent testing, this produces 2,800 to 3,200 parts per billion, not 9,000. The filter is charcoal only. Charcoal only will only remove chlorine. So by including that in this bottle, you're telling people it's okay to drink tap water, which we never want to endorse. So if you were using properly filtered water, you wouldn't need the charcoal, because the charcoal would really only just remove the chlorine. And then the battery life doesn't last any longer than ours. And in fact, after every use, if you don't put this in a standby mode, the battery will simply die and you'll get one use out of the whole day. Also, from a business point of view, we look at things like package size, package weight. This includes a cap with a little plastic hose, implying that it could be used for inhalation. Again, no bottle on the market makes enough hydrogen that it is effective to be used for inhalation. If you want to inhale, buy an inhalation machine, at least 300 milliliters per minute or more, because now you're getting an effective dose. So even some bottles at the higher end of the market right now really aren't getting the job done, because the claims from the manufacturer, and they had lab testing and everything else. They sent me videos of the H2 blue drops. You know, one drop is supposed to equal 1 part per million. And I saw the video with 97 drops. I'm like, that's 10,000 parts per billion right there.
Yeah, but they measured it. They measured it differently.
I caught that. It looked like they were using 10 milliliters of water. The drops come with a little test tube that's only 6 mil for the test. The more water you use could potentially inflate the numbers of what looks like hydrogen in there as well. If you actually read the drops, and there's many different types of them, but the particular drops that we have, the methylene blue drops, they're not effective over 5,000 ppb anyways. So even if this did make 10,000, those drops wouldn't effectively test it. You would need a gas chromatography report like this, showing where the peak hydrogen is. That's the only real way to know if it was making what it is.
And that bottle there wasn't tested by H2 Analytics or any IHSA group. And it also, you know, I like that it had a touch screen, but I also didn't like that it had a touch screen. That thing malfunctions and your bottle's done.
That's right.
It also had the C cable charging port, which allows for the potential of water to get in the bottle. And you know, I like but didn't like how when you're running the cycle on that bottle, on the bottom of the screen, it'll give you numbers for hydrogen being created and ORP, but it's not, those aren't accurate numbers. Those are the same numbers every single time you use it based on the cycle. So it's giving you what it's supposed to be doing, but does it actually do it?
It's a simulation. It's a representation of what's supposed to be being made, but it always ends right at 9,000 on the money, which will never happen. Even if it did make 9,000, the fact of the matter is it doesn't make anywhere near 9,000 parts per billion.
Yeah, and it for right at 9,000, you know, those 3 decimal points every single time they use it. No. And you know, it reminds me of way back when I first learned about hydrogen, and I was selling Kangen machines, and I was promoting hydrogen. You know, I was promoting hydrogen, but I wasn't actually selling it. You know, and that's why this testing and everything needs to be done. And that's why I take a lot of pride in our company and Tech for Health and what we do. You know, we're not just throwing whatever product was the best price on the website. We've tested dozens of different bottles, and you know, with the hydrogen bottle market, there are some good ones, a few great ones like ours, like the Hydro Boost 6000. And then there's a lot of terrible ones. And you know, you might you save yourself some money when you buy the $50 to $100 bottle, but not really, because you're one of two things will happen. You're either buying yourself a new bottle after it craps out and doesn't work anymore, or even worse, and probably more commonly, if it doesn't work, you're going to say, "Oh, this doesn't work," and it's crap.
Yeah,
and then you're going to have a negative review of hydrogen water based on your poorly engineered bottle.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you get the right bottle that does what it's supposed to do, it's going to be the complete opposite. You won't be buying yourself a new one within a short period of time. You will actually experience what you're supposed to experience with these bottles. And you know, there's another thing that I wanted to talk about, because I mean, Taiwan was talking about the 300 milliliters in the bottles. The Hydro Boost 6000 is 230 milliliters. And I want to make it very clear that it's not a water bottle; it's a hydrogen bottle. Water just happens to be the carrier of the hydrogen to your body. And so don't get one of these devices thinking it's a water bottle. Get it and thinking and knowing that you're going to get your daily dose of hydrogen through 1 or 2 bottles of these, no problem. Yeah. Even if you're on the higher end and you want it, and you're trying to treat something and you need to get, you know, 7 to 10 milligrams a day, then have 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah,
because this one's going to give you 2.1 milligrams in 1 bottle. And so if you're looking for 8 milligrams, just have 4 bottles. No problem.
Yeah. And that's only a liter of water at that point too, right? And that's good for people who, let's say, have kidney issues or they can't drink. I mean, we should all drink 4 to 6 liters of water a day anyway, but not everybody's in the right state of health to allow that. And some doctors will tell people don't drink too much water, especially if you have issues with like fluid collecting in your lungs, post pneumonia, if your kidneys aren't flushing, you know.
And I completely agree with that, but it ends up coming down to what I say so frequently is it's not how much water you drink, it's what kind of water you drink. If you're only drinking hydrogen water, you'll only need a liter of water a day. Technically, you'll still want to drink more, and that's why you got to make sure that you have a properly filtered water source. But I mean, it's not a one answer, you know, one size fits all. You know, if you're a big Ford truck is going to need a lot more gas and fuel than a little Honda Civic. You know, a car that's driven to work every day and back is going to need a lot more gas than a weekend driving car. And so, you know, there isn't any cookie cutter answer. The actual the equation is it's either half your weight, half your weight in ounces of water, or if you're on the liter scale, it's 1 liter for every 40 pounds of body weight. And so that's a good baseline, but it's also then very dependent on how active of a lifestyle that you live. If you're working out lots, if you're super active, if you're a marathon runner, if you're going on lots of walks, you're going to need a lot more water than someone that's just sitting around all day.
Yeah.
Temperature
as well. Temperature, if it's 100 degrees out, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was saying it, as I'm almost sweating we got air conditioning going, and I'm still almost sweating in here because the heat is that bad out there right now. And it's a good thing. I love the sun. That's where we get our energy from. No complaints, but it does make a difference in how much water or you should be drinking and what type of hydration you should be looking at.
Yeah. And we heard Taiwan mentioned Gary Brecka on the Joe Rogan podcast. That really started a lot of these online ads. What a lot of people are doing now is they're sampling that Joe Rogan interview over a product that is neither Joe Rogan endorsed nor Gary Brecka nor a good product. They're taking a $20 bottle, putting a video of somebody that's recognizable above it to get you to click on their link. And I have some examples of these misleading ads. But real quick, I just want to play the 50-second Gary Brecka clip on Joe Rogan in case anybody hasn't seen it. Again, he does sell his own bottles. The Gary Brecka bottle in Canada will cost you more than $400. It's $259 US on Amazon.
I know the company that he deals with. And
but anyways, everybody's entitled to make money, and at least it's got the dialogue going that hydrogen is good. So we'll give Gary credit for that. We'll keep our opinions separate, but this is the quick clip, and then we'll show you guys some misleading ads.
That converts your water to hydrogen water?
Well, you can add hydrogen to your water when you're done. I actually have a little hydrogen bottle. I'll bring you one. It's and you fill it with your bottled water, and you just hit a little button, and it adds hydrogen ions to the water. I never travel and never go anywhere without it. So I got it with me in your studio here.
And the benefits of hydrogen water are?
So you put hydrogen ions into the water. So it not only feeds the hydrophiles in your bloodstream, but it will improve the absorption of nutrients and supplements in your stomach. It actually helps enzymes further break down. They complete what's called this lock and key method in your stomach. The studies on hydrogen water and neuroinflammatory disease and chronic inflammation are astounding.
That video, I've seen it so many times. I've been in the hydrogen industry, hydrogen water market for over a decade now, and to see this come out is phenomenal. There's still some things that he says that kind of irk me, like talking about
bottled water.
Hydrogen ions, and talk about the hydro. He doesn't talk about reducing oxidative stress at all, which was back in 2007 that in Nature medicine, Nature Science and Medicine, that was the study that started it all. It's been cited, I think, over 3,000 times now, and it talks about how hydrogen is a selective unique antioxidant scavenging for the hydroxyl radical. And I think that's so important because really it gets down to what people are drinking hydrogen for to begin with, and that is to help help your body reestablish that balance, and that balance with hydrogen is started at a cellular level. So we can talk about your blood's pH or your body's pH. We can talk about lack of nutrients. We can talk about your body not absorbing nutrients properly. All of that stems down from an imbalance at a cellular level, with which hydrogen will help you with in a very, very beautiful way.
Yeah. I mean, most disease is the result of cells not being produced correctly. Cancer is just your body's lost the recipe on how to make good cells. Now the DNA is damaged. So when your cells go into the nucleus and pull out that, DNA and say, well, how do we make another liver cell or another heart cell? It doesn't do it correctly. So it's like a car with a stuck accelerator making bad cells. So really, and the mitochondria are very crucial within your cell for cell production. This is something that targets oxidative stress, which leads to inflammation right at the cellular level. So not only can it prevent a lot of diseases, so even if you are healthy, prevention is worth more than the pound to cure. But if you are in a state of illness, this is the only thing that doesn't have a toxic level that you can consume, and it will affect your entire body, brain, organs, everything, right? There's nothing else like you can't take a whole bottle of vitamin C in a day and get the same result. So the selective,
you'll actually cause your body problems, whereas you can have your 15 bottles of this and just overload the hydrogen with absolutely no adverse effects.
That's right.
And I think the big part of that is due to the molecular structure of hydrogen. It's the smallest molecule known to man, and it has the ability to not only get into certain places, like passing the blood-brain barrier or passing your skin barrier, so on and so forth. But it also has, and this is why it's got no adverse effects, is that it's got the ability to escape when not needed.
Yeah, it doesn't build up any toxic level, and that's something that other antioxidants can't do. Even vitamin C, at a certain amount, it becomes toxic rather than beneficial. And I mean, I haven't seen any convincing
ascorbic acid.
That's right. Yeah. And I haven't seen any convincing studies that said that vitamin C is removing oxidative stress from your brain that could potentially prevent Alzheimer's. I haven't never seen that study. So, but those studies
where we have with hydrogen.
That's right.
I mean, and the big reasoning to that is vitamin C and its molecular structure is quite large in comparison to the minute size of hydrogen. And that's where it's something else, man. It's pretty cool to be in this industry. It's pretty cool to be able to help people in the way that we do. Let's take a look at some of these ads that you said you had.
So here's our misleading ad number one.
Don't drink hydrogen water. Scam. I started drinking it like 2 weeks ago, and I started feeling less sick. I started feeling more energized. My brain fog went away, and you see the bubbles coming up. I don't think water's supposed to bubble up like that and be white. So if you guys want to drink super potion water, don't drink this.
So I don't know if he's trying to be like facetious, to be like, oh, if you don't want to get healthy, then make sure you don't drink this. But at the same time,
I gotta give him credit. I mean, it's clever. It's clever. I'll give you that. But
it's like it's a scam, get your attention, and then tell you it's not a scam. But that particular bottle, when you see that cloudiness, that is the result of chlorine and ozone and all that crap being put in the water. A proper water bottle, when it bubbles, will look like this. Clean, distinct bubbles. Now, again, it's misleading because the real hydrogen bubbles that are doing something and dissolving, we can't see with the naked eye. So some of these make big bubbles, small bubbles. This will make more like snowy bubbles the longer you run it. So the bubbles are not the defining factor of, is my machine working? Even the cheapest bottle on the market will make bubbles. You have to have ones that you either test yourself or you have reputable lab testing to back it up, because otherwise they all look like they're doing something like, oh, it's making bubbles. But ours, after a 10-minute run, when you open it, you will hear the pressure and the hiss, and it might even spray you with a bit of water, because it can build that pressure unlike anybody else, right? And there's only, Taiwan said it, between 5,000 to 7,000. There's like hardly anybody there. We only know of 3 bottles on the market that can do it, ours being one of them, and a whole slew of others that are mediocre, like this one, or poor, like the one we saw. And we'll see that similar bottle come up in future ads here. So here's our second ad. Let's critique this one.
This year, I've decided to put my health first, and proper hydration is the first step. That's when I found this hydrogen water bottle. It works by separating the hydrogen and oxygen molecules to make hydrogen-rich water, allowing for much better absorption in the body. This can majorly lower inflammation and just make sure everything's working properly. Trust me, the results will shock you. Just buy it now and thank me later.
Oh, the results will shock you, all right.
If it looks like cornstarch dissolved in water, that is not good. Again, bubbles can be misleading, but when you see that cloudiness, her water is literally opaque at the end of it. And what happens, folks, is if your water has any type of mineral salts in it, even if you are using mineral water in your bottle, not tap water, that will turn into chlorine through the electrolyzing process. So if you don't have a way to off-gas the chlorine, you're actually putting it in the bottle. And go online and read reviews on those $50 to $100 bottles. People are like, why does it smell like a swimming pool? Because chlorine is being made and you're drinking that. It is poisoning you. So be very wary of, I hate to say it, anything less than $200 US. Do not buy it, because I have yet to see one that is actually good, that delivers a therapeutic dose without poisoning the user. If it's $199, $49, $29, just stay away. You're wasting your money. Like you said, Shane, if you buy a cheap bottle, you're going to buy it again because that one's going to crap out, or you're going to hurt yourself. You know, my dad's a contractor. He used to say, you know, when I go cheap, it costs me more. My dad's old school Portuguese immigrant, right? So he goes, I'm going to go buy a cheap drill. I'm going to break it. And then I'm going to have to go buy the good drill I should have bought in the first place. Because if I buy another cheap one, I'm going to break that one too. I should have just bought the good drill in the first place, because now I'm out the cost of the cheap one that I broke. So it wound up costing him more.
Even worse than that, you know, you're going to get more often than not with most people is they're going to get this, oh, I tried hydrogen water and it didn't work, or it wasn't good, or the bottle that I bought wasn't very good. So all of the bottles are like that. It's like, man, I wish you would have found us or listened to us before you purchased the bottle, but that's okay. You know, it is what it is. The bottles have a very big place in this market, and are here to help a lot of people when done right. So, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Now, some people are quite good, these online content creators, where they will use somewhat accurate facts, but the imagery is still for that cheap piece of junk bottle. So you're getting correct info in what they're saying, but the imagery and the link is for another one of these crap bottles that don't actually deliver the results.
You're promoting one thing, but you're selling another.
Exactly. Here's an example of that.
This is a hydrogen water bottle, and this is what you need to know about it. Hydrogen water bottles add hydrogen gas to your water. Now, why is that important? Well, when you add hydrogen gas to your water, you're actually consuming one of the strongest antioxidants. Those antioxidants lead to clear skin, improved energy, and even better sleep. A lot of athletes take advantage of hydrogen water for reduced recovery time and improved energy. That's because hydrogen water is also an anti-inflammatory. Best part is, these are on sale in the TikTok shop for $20 right now. That's a lot better than the $45 I paid on Amazon.
Oh my
God bless him. Bless his soul. He's trying.
Go, but stick to your day job at the Brick or wherever it is that you're selling furniture from.
Now, this guy coming up here, this guy, I don't want to say anything bad. This is the internet, but I would have some words with this gentleman here, because he runs a podcast that debunks things. So he's given himself a quasi title as the guy who knows everything about everything. Again, wrong with the facts, spitting a fact, but then not knowing enough about the topic to make a logical secondary comment. And we'll break it down after this. Check this guy out here.
Okay, guys, let's talk about one of the biggest scams that's going on right now, and it starts with these bottles. Maybe you have seen these fancy light-up metal water bottles that are attractive to the eye. However, they are $99, and guess what? They don't do a thing. Let's talk about it. Now, to start this off, I want to talk about some of the other products that have came and gone because of one little scientific paper that someone was like, hey, how about I monetize that? That is going to be the Theragun. That is going to be Copper Care. And basically anything back in the day that had the words fat burner attached to it. So the idea of hydrogenated water has been around for a little bit. They just haven't had the technology in order to put it in a small little container and create a product that they could sell to you for $99 that doesn't do a dang thing. So there are so many questions that go unanswered when you're talking about this little bottle with a very, very little simple circuitry within it that is supposed to add hydrogen to your water. Like, for example, where is the hydrogen actually coming from? So if it's coming from the water itself, then the water should actually decrease as it becomes more gaseous. And if the water is not decreasing, then you have to question the amount of hydrogen that's actually being produced during this and its efficacy at all. Also, we can't leave out the fact that hydrogen at this level is not soluble in water. So the second you open that bottle, all that hydrogen is going vertical, and anything you just did was totally undid by that. Now, I know there's a lot of backing in the health community, like Dana White, a couple people that have been on Joe Rogan. However, that's only because there is no suffered loss in this. There's no efficacy to it, so there's no harm on the other side. So of course, they could push something like this because, hey, in the end, it didn't hurt anybody, and we sold some dang good amounts of these water bottles. Personally, I think the water bottle looks awesome, and honestly, I'd probably just buy it if there wasn't that added health benefit to it because, hey, I enjoy a good water bottle. But things that claim that they are something and they are not is really what my whole channel is about. So I would be remiss not to make something about this. So comment below. I'm sure I'll have some fans out there to do so. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Stay safe.
Okay, where do we start with this guy?
Oh man.
Okay, I'll start with the first thing. This idea that the water level would reduce. Okay, there are more hydrogen atoms in a teaspoon of water than there are stars in the visible universe. So, yes, we sell a hydrogen inhalation machine. It's a very high flow unit. It's probably 1,000 times more potent than the gas produced out of a bottle like this. And yeah, in 2 weeks' time, we will lose roughly 1/4 of an inch of a water line in our machine. So yes, in time, but at 230 mils, you could run this thing 100 times and the water level is not going to decrease. And just saying that that's sort of his metric of, well, if it's making hydrogen, why isn't the water going down? It really shows a strong ignorance on the topic of not understanding A, molecular hydrogen at all, or B, how some bottles behave versus others. But to talk about the scam bottles and then lump that in with everything's being a scam and no efficacy, those type of videos are actually harmful and preventing people from getting and seeing real health benefits because they watch a video from a guy like that says this is all scam. Don't waste your money on the $100 bottle. I agree. Don't waste your money on the $100 bottle. But you can't, as a non-scientist, you cannot fight with doctors and scientists who are showing you medical studies proving benefits. If you disagree, go do your own medical science and studies and come back with better science, right? But just disagree.
He kind of lost me when I was like, oh, even if it, I'd buy the water bottle even if it wasn't doing what it said. Like, what? Why the hell would you buy the water bottle for?
That's
like,
right.
What are you doing? Why? What's the point of you saying that? And the delivery of it just drove me nuts because he's like these kind of sad eyes. Maybe he's hit the bong too many times. I don't know. But he's just like, oh yeah, no, those are. And you're talking about the Theragun in that. I'm sorry, but what? Like how are you lumping those two together? For one, the Theragun is by far the best massage gun on the market, and the problem with the Theragun is just it's loud because it's like a jackhammer, and you know for a lot I know many people that have the Theragun that are a huge benefit, like have had huge benefits of it. So it's like for him to have a whole channel of debunking things and it's like, well, okay, where back your opinion up. You know, back it up with something because like we can back up why hydrogen, why our products with a whole whack of stuff. Whereas you're just saying these things. Fair enough. There were some things that I actually did agree with, like talking about the $99 bottles. Yeah, no, 100%. Don't get that. But don't not get hydrogen water at all because of that. Like this is exactly what I meant when the one of two things are going to happen, and that's either you're going to go and buy a new bottle or you're going to just say that this is all a scam, and it's just, you know, those people that type of mentality low key drives me nuts. But at the same time, it's all, you know, it comes with the territory. It comes with a new industry, a new market, a new technology. That's always going to be the case.
Sure, and if you don't want to go spend multiple thousands of dollars on things like water ionizers, inhalation machines, some of the more pricier. If you don't want to spend, you know, $199 US or $220 US on a bottle like this, start with some tablets. Get some hydrogen tablets, which we don't really recommend because they will give you the runs because of the elemental magnesium, but try them for a week and see if you feel better. And then don't go spend $50 on a bottle. Go buy a $250 bottle and actually have something that's going to last you and be consistent. Another thing with these is the attenuation. A lot of these bottles are good for 2 months and then they don't produce hydrogen anymore. Even some of the middle of the pack kind of bottles, they produce okay hydrogen. You might have to drink 8 a day, but they don't last because they're not built well. So, you know, the difference between the bottle we took the manufacturer's word on and did our own testing, they had inflated it by like 400% what it could actually do. Our bottle that had testing from H2 Analytics, we tested it bang on with what they did. It was almost identical to the T.
And we've tested it multiple times over to continue to know that it's continuing to produce what it says. I'll also say this, because we got to wrap this episode up, and want to leave it with that guy. We don't need to see any more terrible advertisements, but he did put, anyway. The tablets are a scam too, or the tablets are garbage too, or something like that. He put that in there, and it's like, right, yeah, some bottles are, some ionizers are. There's always that's technology, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you have to shy away from it. It just means that you got to know where you're buying from, who you're buying from, and why you're buying from that individual or that company. And that's one thing that we can stand behind beautifully with Tech for Health, is our products are tried, tested, and true, not only by us but by third-party sources. And we're here to make a serious positive impact in your life, and I know that we can do that, starting with the Hydro Boost 6000.
Yeah. And if you do want to get in touch with us, you can visit our website, techforhealth.ca, email us at info@techforhealth.ca. And we also have images and product breakdowns explaining more. It is a resource guide of education, not just for selling product. And we are happy to help people. If you do like this episode, give us a thumbs up, leave us your comments below. You can find us on Facebook. Just look for Tech for Health. Check out our cool logo, and you'll be up to date with the latest and greatest. We post a lot of reviews, doctor interviews, everything to do with water, health, filtration, and hydrogen therapy. And with that, we'll bring today's show to a close. Thanks again, everybody, for checking us out. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.